Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jamila and this is Muscial Credits. So, I know I said I was going to be working on the purse, and I know that y'all seem to appreciate my actual sewing and tutorial videos a bit more than my online and computer software informational videos and stuff like that, but I am behind on my brand's 2024 to 5 winter line. So I'm going to be showing a process of that instead and incorporating my knowledge of, or my growing knowledge of Procreate, and I'm also going to be going over my Procreate process, how it's evolving, because I start out with a lot of lines and then, well, okay, and then I'm also going to go into what I have so far for my ideation of my lines. So I am moving along with it. I know it'll probably seem like nothing when I show it to y'all, but I'm almost to the stage where I can print out patterns and start sewing them, and then I can do those kind of tutorials again. But right now I really just need to develop the line. So yeah, here's the video. Okay, the fancy backgrounds were making me angry, so we're putting a pause on those. So this was like my very first step, was just collect everything I have on this and just throw everything at the board. So I have a couple of things created in Clo 3D. These are the idea of the flat sketch. You can do that, and I think I've posted it how to do that, or maybe I posted myself struggling figuring out how to do that. If I haven't posted how to do that as a short or something, I will post it after I post this, but then I'll also link it, whether or not I've done it earlier or I'll do it today. So anyway, I have a couple of flats here and here and here, just some things that I've created. They don't necessarily have to become what I'm going to use, but they're just to get the ball rolling, to ideate a little bit. And yes, I do realize some of this does not scream winter weather. However, I live in Georgia. I will make this stuff in Georgia. I probably won't get around making all of it, but the idea of the line is based in Georgia. So yeah, there are a couple of lightweight coats and some pants, but it doesn't get that cold here, so I'm not overly concerned about making it full on winter. So here you can see the fabrics and assets that I have. I have less of this fabric than I do of this. I got a big donation of this, and when it says expensive, it's the fabric itself, I didn't pay anything for it. It was donated, as I said before. Sometimes you are lucky enough to get that when you're in upcycling, but if I were to have paid for it, it would have cost a lot. So I really want to utilize it, but I really want to just add a bit more color. All my lines, if you haven't seen my stuff or know much about me, all my lines are pretty colorful, so I just want to add some yarn in there, maybe play around with how to do that. That would also make a fantastic video. By the way, in the backdrop of all of this, I am learning all this new software. So this is one of the new software I'm learning. It's called Affinity, and I really like it as a Photoshop replacement. Alright, so down here we have this plastic belt. I actually have made this pattern. I have it printed. I have a few of the belts actually made and for sale in my store. So that's fun, and that's just an idea. The dress, of course, doesn't necessarily have to be, but when I was working with the mannequins in Clo 3D, I just wanted something to go with it. Over here we have a little jacket with little 3D printed guys. So the idea would be the buttons here probably, and then little 3D printed designs that I haven't designed yet. I haven't made them yet, so waiting on that to throw them in there. Again, this is an idea board. It's not good. It's not meant to be great. I actually have what I do after is meant to build upon it and make it great. So I actually have this done. The moons and stars and stuff didn't translate well to 3D. I'm learning Blender in the background of this too, so hopefully that will help a little bit. I don't have much of this fabric. This is one sweater that my grandmother donated. So this idea we were thinking is dyeing the sweater black or just dark blue because it's 60% cotton and 20% polyester, so blends don't dye well. Do y'all really need it? Well, okay. So we'll see what color it turns when I try to dye it, but then also putting this little 3D printed bug guy on it. I actually do utilize bugs a bit more in this. And I just have some ideas, like a t-shirt and a mini skirt like that. You can see I kind of took that over here. I have the idea for, jeans with a flare because fast and easy. Like sometimes in your upcycle line, if you're the only one working there, you need fast and easy. And then this idea was just a jacket that I have, chopping it into a skirt and crop top, throwing some fringe on there. And then I also want to make another one of these. This is a cargo maxi skirt, and in my shop I like to include like little chains that you can hang stuff from the chain kit on. And I made one of these, loved it, wore it for about a year. Then just decided it was too big for me, so I sold it, and it sold immediately after I started selling it. So I should tell you something about making things that are sellable. Also, I'll point out I have a lot of this fabric. So these are kind of more wintry fabrics, but still there's some colorful bits in there. And this thing I want to use, but I don't know how. It's what goes on this. But I'm going to be cutting that out and putting a strip of maybe this on it after I dye it. So this is just phase 1 of planning. All of this might change. Phase 2 of planning is just putting outfits and stuff together. What do I want to see with what? And then I just have ideas here, like dress, belt, blazer, sunset top, and cargo blazer, and then a top with a coat with it. And sunset top, that's this. I have a lot of these. I have a lot of patterns for these. They're pretty simple to do, but I probably need a new serger first. So now we get into the portion that I have in more of a presentation. It's more fancy. I did this on Canva. I'm not married to Canva. I don't have to use Canva. It cuts my work time in half when there's already something with the mood. So I did this whole thing in Canva, and then this image I did in Procreate because I want this line to include some of the other software I've been learning, which is Procreate. I'm not sure if you've been keeping up now, but it's been Affinity Designer and Designer Suites, Blender, Clove 3D, and Procreate. So those are 4. To be fair, I'm not doing much with Blender at the moment. I have one thing from Blender with hopefully, I have this thing from Blender, which I don't really feature in the beginning ideation, so you haven't seen it yet. And then I have the vague idea of maybe a Russian doll-like design and then a little moth, which I might just replace the Russian dolls with moths. We'll see. But anyway, here is what I made in Blender, and I'll show you a video of me doing all that. I do trace, and I do use references, but I trace in a different way. So I change certain aspects, ideas, even colors. I don't copy things when I trace. I just use the shapes and use what's there. So this is the background of my, I don't want to call it my mood board, but it's definitely a vibe picture. So you can see the city, it's kind of dystopian, and there's an iPad here, and the idea, well, I'll show y'all in the next one. Let me go down here. Right, so the idea, I'm not sure if you can see this bottom corner. I don't want you to look at this though. Where am I? Okay, I'm around here. Right, the idea here is that it's a person from the future being nostalgic for like the 1970s retro boho era kind of thing. So we have all my boho research and things here, and my Procreate assets are, oh, they're all together on this, but my Procreate assets, or assets I made in Procreate, are these little bugs. And I have more than I'm working on. I also made this shoe, which I did not include in my Procreate assets, so I'm going to have to go fix that. And this little face is there too. And then the rest of these images were found online. And again, the idea is a general idea of boho, but how they would view it from the future. So they might not have everything correct, but they have a general vibe going, and that's the vibe that I want to bring into this, is this, but also with a little bit of this. Alright, moving on here, my Procreate assets, minus the cowboy boot over in this corner, and the face over here, which I'll have to add when I'm done explaining y'all this. And then I have my 3D printed asset right there. I also wanted to pop in to do a close-up of this. It will be featured later, or I'm featuring it right now. And it is it's a closure piece. So what you do is you have a little string through this that's sewn to one side, and that is the same side as this over piece. So then you take the pin out and you can separate these two, and then you close them. And then this thing goes in here, and then you close them by putting these sides together and putting this through this. Obviously these would have to be sewn down to separate pieces of fabric, but I have an example in my ideation phase as well, in my little presentation. So this is what I have for the ideation portion so far in Procreate. I also have stuff in here, but what I just want to show you is this mood board. It's still work in progress. You can see I took some things from the vibe picture, and I'm just putting them into their own separate little boxes for the mood board. And you can see that some of it is torn paper is the idea, but then some of it, like a retro torn paper, but then some of it is the futuristic with the cell phones. I'm not sure how much of this you can recognize from the vibe pictures, but that's about it. Some of my ideas and uploads they're not in uploads, but some of my ideas are a little clear looking, so I'm working on that, but that is what I have so far. Alright, so this is the first one that I did, and you can see that I'm just tracing over it in pencil. I know that that's kind of redundant. By the way, I'm the one who drew this. I drew it from a reference of a similar image in person, and then I just go over it in pencil because I was still getting used to Procreate. I did this for a couple of them, where it's like the pencil's a little redundant, but why not? And then you can see me playing with all the different brushes, and that's kind of like what I do throughout. I'm voiceovering this image so that I can add music to the next few, because I'm going to have a few at a time. So what I really try to experiment with later, and you see that I believe it's after the boot. First I tried to experiment with getting thicker lines and using the lines as shading with the moth, but then with the butterfly and the gecko, which I don't have a recording of right now, I might add it in, actually. We'll see what I decide to add in and what I don't, because I have a few of these. Actually, Procreate lets you do this. But with the butterfly, especially the gecko, I try some techniques to avoid using all these thick outlines. I don't have a particularly realistic style of drawing, but I also don't want to do a particularly cartoonish style, and that's what I feel like the thick outlines were giving. Also, with the whole background image I'm going to put in next, I decided to play with all these blending modes, and for the actual vibe picture I do it a little differently. You'll see, but how I do it is that I did most of the image in Procreate, and you'll see the result at the end, and then that was also on my ideation board, and then I did the rest of it with like the hologram coming from the iPad. That I did in Affinity on the computer. I've been very busy and the first video might not be coming anytime soon, what with trying to get this done. I really want to just finish a whole line, maybe not even to the sewing portion because it's obvious throughout my portfolio that I can sew, but I just want to get far enough to be able to start advertising myself as a freelancer and to begin in my freelancer career. So hopefully this works out, and hopefully some of what I showed you about how to ideate a line has been helpful to you. And of course I will keep going with it, and these ideas that you've seen so far are probably going to end up being tutorials one day. So make sure to like and subscribe for that, especially if you want to see the upcoming tutorials on my ideas here. Anyway, thanks for watching. Oh, one more thing is that all these are of course going to be upcycled or otherwise sustainable. The fabric that was a donation, obviously technically not upcycle, but also I didn't go out and buy the fabric, so I mean still sustainable because it was a donation. But yeah, all of my work is going to be sustainable. So sustainable, mostly upcycled. So follow me for that. All right, bye.